Hello everyone, I'm Ola and this is Coding is for Girls. So far we're talking about Python basic syntax without even mentioning objects and classes. And I think it's about time to change it. This episode will be very complicated because classes and objects are something that is not very straightforward. It's one of these things that once you understand the concept, it's quite natural and easy. However, when you see that for the first time in your life, it's kind of weird. If you haven't seen my previous videos about reading from CSV files and sending emails, I think it's a very good idea to check them out now, because I will use these programs as a base for today's episode to show you how to deal with classes and objects in Python. So far, we've described everything line by line in our program. We don't really have any connection between what our program does with what data represent. In fact, the data has no real meaning. What we did so far is called procedural programming and is one of computer science programming paradigms. However, there is another paradigm that is very interesting to learn, and this one is called object-oriented programming. The problem with writing software is the fact that it's extremely complex to think about every possibility and relation in your program. It is so much easier to split problem into smaller pieces and focus at one part at a time. This way, you build your program from smaller chunks that are much easier to grasp. And these chunks are called objects. Objects combine state and behavior. This concept is somehow closer to the way people think. We associate things with what they can do, how they behave, and what we can do with them. When dealing with objects in programming languages, we talk about two concepts: classes and instances. A class is an abstraction or a definition of a given thing. You can think about it as a cookie cutter that gives the shape of the cookie, but it is not a cookie itself. An instance or an object is a concrete thing, is a cookie made with a cookie cutter. It exists and can interact with other instances in your program. If you watched my videos about reading from CSV files and sending emails, you know that we're using as a starting point a spreadsheet that contained information about workshop applicants. The columns there defined our class representing applicant. It told us that applicant need to have certain attributes: name, email address, if they are accepted or not, who is their coach, and what is their native language. And each row in this spreadsheet was an instance. We had Alice, Eve, and Mary. They all fit into more general idea of workshop applicant defined in columns, but they have all data filled in each cell. Let's open our program that we created last time when we were talking about sending emails and see how we can modify it to introduce object and classes. Here we've been reading rows from CSV file row by row with data of applicants, and then we're sending emails to them. Let's see if we can create applicant model out of each row from the CSV file. So far, we were storing every value from cells in each row in one of the variables: name, email, accepted, coach, and language. These values are clear candidates to be properties of our new object. So our first step will be creating applicant class with the following properties: name, email, accepted, coach, and language. Let's talk a little bit about syntax. In Python, to start a class definition, we need to start line with the special keyword class. Then, similar to the way we defined function, we need a unique name for our class. In this scenario, we will use applicant. And please note that we are starting with capital letter. This is a convention in Python and we should follow that. Finally, we type colon and we can start the block definition of the class. Now we can define either properties that are same for every single instance of this class, or define something called methods. Method is a special function that works with the given object. Normal function can be used anywhere in your program. However, the method needs to have existing object and instance on which it works. In Python, the first argument of the method is a current instance. Typically, we call it self, and we can use it inside our method to access data stored in our object. In Python, there are also methods that are very special. Their name usually start with 2 underscores. And this is because normal people do not name things starting with underscore. So this is just in case. One, which we start with, is called underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and it's used when we create and initialize the instance of the class. And it will be useful right now for us to pass values from our CSV files to store them in the object. It will be easy to see that in the example. Let's open the script from previous video where we sent emails to people from the spreadsheet. Let's save the file as classes.py. Now in this line we were reading values from CSV file and we stored them in variables. What we would like to do here is to take these values and put them inside the object. We will start with defining the class then. So just before with statement, we will start defining class for the applicant. We will type class applicant colon. Now we will define init method. What we would like to do is to get all variables from the CSV files, name, email, and so on, and store them inside the object. We will start defining method by typing def, which indicates it's a function. Please note that this function is indented. That means it is inside block defined by class, and it will therefore be a method of the class. Now we type name of the method, so underscore underscore init underscore underscore. We open brackets, and as I mentioned previously, the first argument should be a reference to the current object, and we call it self. Then we will provide all arguments which we would normally pass to any function. Here we will type name, email, accepted, coach, and language. Now we type colon, starting a block of a method. What we would like to do here is make sure that we store all data we just passed as arguments as objects properties. We do that as follows. We type self.name equals name. That means that current object will store name from CSV file in the property called name. Let's do the similar thing with email. Self.email equals email. Now we would like to store information if the applicant was accepted or not. However, in CSV file we store this as a text, either yes or no. But in our Python program, what makes more sense is to store this value as a boolean, true or false. This way, we don't need to add everywhere if accepted equals yes, then do something. Make sure to check my video about boolean values if next steps feels like magic. Here, inside object, we would like to store property called accepted that contains boolean value calculated from value inside accepted argument. So we will type if accepted equals yes, colon, then inside in the block we'll type self.accepted equals true, and then else self-accepted equals false. Now we can store values of the coach and language like this. Self.coach equals coach and self.language equals language. Okay, let's save and go back to the line where we read values from CSV file. Here we will create instance of the applicant with data from the particular row. We will store it in variable called applicant, and then we type equals, and we will create an instance by writing name of the class, so applicant, open parenthesis, and here we will pass arguments our init function expects, all except the first one called self, as it is an instance itself and Python automatically added for us. Name, email, accepted, coach, and language. All values just read from CSV row. This line takes a class applicant and creates an instance of the object. Applicant class is our cookie cutter, And this line is actually creating our cookie. Now we created something that is a separate entity, an instance. Okay, but what we can do with applicant? I mentioned that objects are binding data with behavior. So what we could do here is to extract the logic that is responsible for generating email subject and content and put it inside our newly created applicant object. We will create two methods on applicant. One will be called prepare email subject and will generate as the subject for the email. The second one will be called prepare email message and will generate the content of the email. Inside applicant class, we will define the first method as follows. Def, prepare email subject, open brackets, self, so the instance of applicant, and then close brackets and colon. Now it's time to return the value of the subject depending on the fact if the current applicant was accepted or not. We will type then if self.accepted, colon, and if the person was accepted, we will type return workshop application accepted. But if the person was not accepted and self-accepted is false, we will return workshop application not this time. Okay, time to define the second method. Def prepare email message, open brackets, self, close brackets and colon, and the logic will be similar, but this time we will use the code that generated content. If self.accepted, return accepted messages, .format, self.name, self-coach. As you can see, we are using values stored inside our object, and we access them by using self, dot, and the name of the property. Here, self.name and self.coach. So the remaining bit here is to return the message if the person was rejected. So here we will type return rejected message dot format self.name. Okay, let's see how we can modify our code to actually use these newly defined methods. Inside for loop, we will replace this whole if-else statement with the calls to our new methods. We will do subject equals applicant, as we are storing the instance of the current applicant in variable applicant, dot, and the name of the method, so prepare email subject. Then we open and close parentheses. Now let's do the similar thing with the email message. We will store in variable message the following: applicant.prepare email message, open and close parentheses. Now email message will use values we calculated inside applicant object methods. Nice. Okay, let's save and see if our program still works as before. We will go to console and type python3 classes.py. Uh-oh, something is wrong. We just got the following error: smtplib.smtp authentication code. It is something that some of you encountered when working with my previous video about sending emails. This error is Gmail specific, and to fix that, we would need to make sure that less secure apps are enabled in Gmail. And I want to say thank you to the viewers who pointed out that this is the issue, and they were helping others to fix the same bug. To fix the problem, we'll need to go to this page when being logged in as an account we want to send emails from. google.com settings/security less secure apps. And click turn on. That's it. I will place the link in the description below. Once again, make sure to use an account that is created just for testing purposes. Now let's check if the program works now. python3 classes.py. Okay, it finished. Let's check if we got any emails. And yes, it worked. So far we learned how to create class in Python and how to instantiate it. We also learned how to create methods that can be used later on in our program on the instance. As a last step today, I want us to do a small refactoring of the code. It will make our code cleaner, and I think it's always good to try to find places where we can refactor code and make it easier to understand. Now we are doing two different things in the same for loop. We are reading from the CSV file and we are sending email. But since we created objects from the CSV rows, there is no need to keep it together anymore. The current solution is also not good from the logic point of view. If we had error in data in the third row of our spreadsheet, our program would go and read the first two applicants and send emails to them. And when reading the third row, there will be error, our Python script will stop, and none of other applicants will get any email. Next time we run the script, the first two people who already get an email would get the same email second time. This is not good, and I think it's much better to keep reading from the CSV file and sending email separate things. What we could do is reading the applicant first, and then, after that's finished, send emails to every applicant we read. This way, if the reading of the CSV file failed in any of the rows, we haven't sent emails to any of applicants, and we are safe to try our program once again. We will achieve that by creating two separate functions. First one will be called readApplicants, which will open CSV file, read all the rows and create applicants out of each row, and return the list of created applicants. The second function will be called sendWorkshopEmails, which will take list of the applicants and will generate and send emails to people. Let's start with readApplicants function. Before the with statement, we will type def readApplicants open and close parentheses, colon. Then we need a list in which we will be adding all applicants we are about to create. We will type applicants equals open and close square parentheses. We started as an empty list and we will be appending applicants as we go. Now we will copy the code that opens and reads CSV file. With statement, the creation of applicant instance. Now we would like to add newly created applicant to the applicants list. We will do that like this: applicants dot append and in parentheses applicant. Finally, after we are done with the for loop, we want to return the list of created applicants. Return applicants. Now we can write this: applicants equals read applicants. And applicants variable will have a list of applicants read inside readApplicants function. We can now pass this list to the second function we want to create, sendWorkshopEmails. We will start by defining the function here, def sendWorkshopEmails, open parentheses, applicants, close parentheses and colon. Now what we want to do is open SMTP connection, so let's copy paste these lines from SMTP to login. And at the end, we should copy the bit that closes the connection as well, so smtp.quit. Now before it, we want to send emails to every applicant, and for that we need a for loop again. So for applicant in applicants, colon, and now we can copy paste this bit from subject to send mail and paste it here. There is one more thing missing here. In sendWorkshopEmails, in the line where we send the email, we no longer has a variable called email. If we try to leave it like this, we will end up having a name error when we try to run the script. So how to access the email of the applicant then? Previously we stored it in a property email on the applicant class. So all we need to do is to use it here. To access, we will type applicant.email. That's it. Okay, we can now delete all old code from with statement to closing SMTP. And after this line, applicants equals read applicants, we can simply call sendWorkshopEmails function like this. Send workshop emails and we'll pass applicants as an argument. Let's save and see if it still works as before. So Python 3 classes.py. Yes, it's a success. That was a lot to take in. If you're still confused and you're not sure how classes, objects and instances work, please do not despair. This is a very complex concept and it takes time to grasp it. You'll need practice and experience before this concept starts to be familiar for you. And there is a whole academic theory behind classes and objects. But to be honest, it's not needed to make use of this technique. And we will be using more and more classes and objects in the future. Okay, so let's recap. Objects help us to build program from the smaller pieces. We define classes to describe general behavior, and we instantiate it with a concrete object with the individual data. I hope you had fun learning about objects today, and if you want to learn how to program with me, make sure to subscribe to this channel and stay tuned. Have a lovely day and see you!